You know what I'm saying? Talk about this Kelsito, the spirit coach, getting you in shape and form for the age of Aquarius yet again. You're now drinking the wine of Zeus. But yeah, man, we just go, get it to it, the 1, 2 and stuff because, you got to understand symbolism. So we understand the symbolism a little bit more today. And I hope you can leave this live understanding symbolism a lot more. Okay, because you might be, and this really not for foreigners, this like for, people that have been in America, people that's really associated with the culture, people that's really associated with seeing, things and being like, oh, this shit ain't right or something like that. This shit ain't making sense. This for you, okay? So we gotta get to it because you might want to get you a cross. And I ain't talking about the cross like them, you know what I'm saying? So this is esoterically speaking. So you might want to get you a cross. You feel me? You might want to get a cross because you gotta get your point across, you know? And if you don't get your point across, you might get stuck in a cross that look like one of their crosses, okay? So understand symbolism too. It's about understanding symbolism. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you see this, you know what I'm saying, it's associated with dramaticism. Dramaticism. This is associated with being overly dramatic, right? Because the motherfucking part at the bottom, it drags you to hell. So you know what I'm saying? You want to get a more equalized cross, have a more equalized cross so you can kind of know what hell is and kind of be like balanced on all sides and stuff like that, not get dragged and stuck in hell and stuff like that, which is they plan. This is why all the motherfucking caskets look the same. All of that. All of that look, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta understand a little bit more, you know, things in life. Okay? All right. So understanding the Jesus Christ matrix and shit like that. So this is the Jesus Christ matrix is what everybody been kind of stuck in, you know what I'm saying? Not everybody, not me and the people that I know, but as far as your average individual, you know what I'm saying? And it can play out in ways where it can play out in certain ways where motherfucker throw me off. But yeah, it can play out in certain ways where it needs to uh you need to wake up from. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about waking up from it. So you ain't know when your grandma was giving you a Snicker bar. You know what I'm saying? It had a little Jesus Christ matrix in there. You know what I'm saying? So you gonna really learn about the Jesus Christ God. And all of the aerodynamics that it take you in. You know what I'm saying? One being hell. You know what I'm saying? It ain't really equal. It ain't really equal cross. So you got to get a crossing. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to get your cross right. The crossroad. You know what I'm saying? You got to get your cross right, not the one that drag you into hell. You feel me? Not the one that drag you into hell for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Because it's mostly, you know what I'm saying, about you knowing yourself and being sufficient. And then being able to gradually, do your thing. If you're stuck, you know what I'm saying, and experiencing repetition and shit like that, it's likely because you were in this cross. You know what I'm saying? This cross, you know what I'm saying, go a little further down. So it's a little harder to get back up. You get what I'm saying? It's made like that. Yeah, it's a little harder to get out of, it's a little bit more harder to get out of hell with that cross on your mind. So you know what I'm saying? So you gotta know the crossing. And so this was made off the astrology wheel. What we get this from? Direction, right? We only got 4 directions. So what we get that from? Astrology, right? So north, south, east, west. And for the most part, these are all the directions inside yourself. And, basically, us utilizing the areas within our internal self to start pointing to certain points we need to be looking at. Okay, we need to, if this is more hotter, this may represent north, which is, going forward or more transformation. When we more internal, you know, this may represent separation. So like separating and being in tune with your the code, right? So you know what I'm saying? So it's all, then west would be like a little bit in between, north would, east would be like, so this is about direction. So you know, and each of these directions have different energies and shit like that, different ways of looking, or different things that come out of the atmosphere based upon them directions and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we're creating, a crossing. You know what I'm saying? So this is a Native American symbol too. You know what I'm saying? Anybody know a good glue too? Because I had a little piece, a little emblem piece in there too. Anybody got some good glue and shit like that? You know what I'm saying? So let me know. You know, I need to get that back on and shit like that, or some idea that I can use to motherfucking put that back on there. It's like I need a glue though, a good glue or something like that that don't move shit. So all of my artists, all of y'all and shit like that, whatever. Y'all like my new room, my new setup. I got to get the Star. She want to keep the tapestry, so you know, I gotta, you know, figure out what else I'm gonna put up here and stuff. But yeah, well, we get into the motherfucker Jesus Christ Matrix and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody and shit like that. But yeah, you know, when we get into the Jesus Christ Matrix and things, you know, you got to know your crossing and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is about following the order. And then once you know the order, you know what I'm saying, you are essentially being updated with the times and the rotations and knowing how to practice the order out correctly, and that play out like order in your life. And when you don't have order, you know what I'm saying, you may practice out unnaturalism and shit like that. And that leads you to being more separate. You know what I'm saying? So this was what they try to put you in and stuff like that. So this go deep when it gets to, you know what I'm saying, them coming over here, doing this to Native Americans. Then, you know, now Native Americans had our own, you know, way of doing our, you know what I'm saying, our crossing too. So, you know what I'm saying, it's always inevitable that we gonna, you know what I'm saying, wake back up and, you know, spark the imagination, you know what I'm saying, to understand things and shit like that a little bit better. But, you know, when it gets to the crossing and shit like that, this is you being dragged in hell and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm not saying, I'm not telling everybody to go out and get this symbolism as a motherfucking, as like a motherfucking thing that's going to do the energy for you. You know, it can help in some aspects of, you know, you reminding yourself, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the situation going on. But for the most part, it ain't about the external things. You know, everything externally we create internally. Symbolism is this. So if you don't think a group of people was like, damn, with this, let's just make a symbol and let's just put it out there and shit. No, it gotta represent something. And so, you know, what it was representing when they was making it was dragging everybody to hell. You know what I'm saying? That's their God. Or that's their interpretation. So let me get on this real quick. Hold on. You know, and when you know your energies, and I always teach y'all it in an astrology way, you know what I'm saying? It's just the east would be spring, you know what I'm saying? This is motherfucking winter. This is no, what the fuck I'm talking about? This is east, this is north, this is west, and this is south. So yeah. So this is spring, this is summer, this is fall, and this is winter. Okay, and so when you get in that space, you know, you'll be understanding be able to understand the witchcraft that they put y'all in. Now let's talk about the Jesus Christ Matrix a little bit more. because this nothing other than any. I'm trying to motherfucking get my computer to work.
Hold on, let me see, because I need to read what I wrote on the motherfucking thing, so I gotta force quit this shit because it's capping right now. I gotta force quit it because it's capping right now.
I gotta force quit it because it's capping right now. You know what I'm saying? So, and then it's many forms of this Jesus Christ matrix, okay? It's many forms of the Jesus Christ matrix, okay? So it can be in food, you know what I'm saying? It can be in motherfucking entertainment, whatever you do, like to do, movies, you know what I'm saying? Anything that keeps you entertained, that once they get you and put you in that world, you know what I'm saying? And you don't necessarily stay on your path, right? This leads to public crucifixion and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Being nailed to their cross and shit like that. And they already kind of created a matrix within, the world in itself to make it think y'all think it's a world. So the first matrix is the actual witchcraft, you know what I'm saying? Which really is just them stealing from Native Americans and plagiarizing it, you know what I'm saying? All the conversations in the Second Testament, not the Second Testament, but y'all know what I'm talking about. The New Testament, that's what I meant. Damn. I need this to go in and work because it's acting food game. We're going to get into this Jesus Christ matrix, though, so you can know. And so the average individual can know. So now you know why you look at movies and it's always extreme, it's dramatic, it's people getting shot, it's people getting killed. What's usually in there? What's usually in the schools? This, you feel me, that's getting shot up and stuff. This. So this is them, controlling y'all world from a certain aspect. Let me get this right, man, because I need to get this up and shit. I'm trying to get this up, bro. Cause this ain't right. Come on, cuz. Hold on, let me go get this iPad. That's what the fuck I ain't finna fuck around. But that is the so when we talk about Jesus Christ matrix, you know what I'm saying? The matrix is a certain mind. It's a certain mind you have to be in. And your mind play tricks on you. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't have no other way to look at, some of these symbolisms and stuff like that, and that's why you may be in a situation where you may be in hell. So let me figure this shit the fuck out. Come on, folks. It's just, I don't even like getting on live doing this. Come on, man. Like, y'all is fucking, my bad, y'all. Just bear with me. So yeah, you gotta know symbolism and shit like that. And the whole thing is just putting everybody in a box. So, it was at the beginning, and the beginning is pretty much their interaction with Native Americans and shit like that in the Bible. But at the beginning, of this situation, they understood that they couldn't kill everybody, you know what I'm saying, because they needed to kind of create slavery to get people to work with them and shit like that. So essentially is how can we put everybody in a box. So this is when we get into them, bringing their science over here, which ain't really science. It's just really like what would you say that is? That's like, you know, it's just studying somebody else and studying what makes them tick. And then once you get a bunch of people that, you know, study your spiritual system and can kind of create a synthetic version of, you know, what that is that can be used for you, you know what I'm saying, to necessarily satisfy you and stuff like that in certain areas and shit like that. This is when they can this is when they can sit back, come up with a mathematical procedure and take that and dump that on, take that mathematical procedure, dump that on you, do little psyops behind the scenes to make it more convenient for you to do that, right? And so this is like essentially assimilation that they cause, like, you know what I'm saying? So you can't have your own government, your own language and stuff like that. You gotta get in the box. You can't, you know, plant your own food or something. You can't sell your own liquor. You know what I'm saying? Well, liquor ain't really our shit, but you can't really even sell your own weed and shit like that because of you are in a box, essentially. So, you know what I'm saying? This don't look like a box, but you know what I'm saying? Anything with the four, you know what I'm saying, is 4 points and shit like that. So their significant way of doing that box, you know what I'm saying, is making it more holistic. You know what I'm saying? So the cross drags you down a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? It drags you down to hell and shit like that, and being more separate, you know what I'm saying, from yourself. So that's why you need saving. You know what I'm saying? You need something outside of yourself and stuff like that. And for the most part, they didn't promote it and gave y'all so many versions of this, you know, uh, your savior, you know, whether that be, like I said, food, you know what I'm saying, whether that be games, and or even on the hardest one is the imagination portion of it, which is, you know, the Jesus Christ portion of it, and that play out into a lot of fashions. So when we talk about that, that play out into, you know, things like how you think about the world in general, how you think about NASA and stuff like that, and how you think about, um, you know, their version of the planets and shit like that. And really, you know what I'm saying, you just in a big ass water cycle, you know what I'm saying, having sparks that condense to flesh and shit like that. So you run your blood system as a spirit and a space, you know what I'm saying? This is your organ that you condense to make uh you fluid down here and shit like that. And that's how we growing from the inside out and shit like that. They not finna teach you that. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, your mind is limited in things. And you already need saving and stuff like that based upon their starting points. So this is their starting points that only lead you into needing saving, if you get what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Because the spirits, uh, you know, we all need grace and shit like that, you know, but you being saved from yourself. And this is public crucifixion. So if you on the, you know what I'm saying, if you watching movies all day, or you eating all that negative food, you know what I'm saying, you doing all of these things, you know what I'm saying, this is only gonna lead you to being fat and out of shape somewhere, mentally, physically, emotionally, as an example, on the couch, you know what I'm saying, where you're not able to do something for yourself. And really, this is the public crucifixion. So whether that is you publicly getting that energy from other people, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna feel it in your internal public area, because we all got associations, Aquarius natures and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? This is part of the age of Aquarius too, that we got to take power and control over, even with Pluto there. But you know, your Aquarius natures is is going to be crucified and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't even really want to make it pseudo because it's not about astrology and shit like that. But we all got that. We all got shins, and that represent our, our public nature, our ability to be associated and on the cycle. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, you got your own individual. You know what I'm saying? That will be this part and shit like that. And but you also got the crossing and shit like that. So yeah, you 21 and shit like that. That's your own individuality. So you can do uh, your own individual thing in that age bracket and things, but it still got a crossing. It still got a something you got to do amongst everybody type shit. You know what I'm saying? And their version is to keep you more in your own hell about it. If y'all get what I'm saying. Like, you gotta have the minds, you know what I'm saying, to know. But, it's about keeping you in your own hell about it. So, you know what I'm saying, the things that you entertain and shit like that. So, the things that you entertain, the things that you entertain will be the things that drag you to hell. And if you don't figure out how to be this cross and be a little bit more manageable, with them things, these are the same things that will lead your mind into being, in the line of public crucifixion. And you might not get it this lifetime. You know what I'm saying? You might not get it the next lifetime, but you gonna get it. You get what I'm saying? So, or you might get that shit this lifetime, depending on how much are you aware of a spirit that is for you. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, let me see. We working in this bitch now. We want to work. But yeah, so being part of the Jesus Christ matrix will have you in on some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to spot out, which part of the Jesus Christ matrix you lost in. Because it could be really tricky to peep game. And you may be in one of their boxes already and getting ready to be packaged. You know what I'm saying? To hell, down and shit like that. You ain't got no equilibrium to hell, down. Okay? So it's all about being able to be in tune and out of their boxes, because if you think there's just human existence and stuff like that, and you just, you know what I'm saying, some of y'all is real human, but you know what I'm saying, for all the people that sleep, if you think this just human existence and this just what it's supposed to be and stuff like that, man, you getting ready to go to hell. Yeah, you getting ready to go to this world. You getting ready to go to that world where everybody at. Where everybody at. All of them over there. All of them over there. I'm telling you, all of them over there. And stuff like that. You'll never be able to pick yourself back up. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be off the evolutionary scale and stuff like that. So you got to fight for your place in the natural, in your natural evolution, so you can become the butterfly. You know what I'm saying? And stuff. Now, understand this talk is for butterflies, because, the butterfly can understand the language of the caterpillar. You know what I'm saying? Or especially if they're getting ready. So it's like the cocoon being ready a little bit. You're like, okay, I'm understanding this a little bit. Your cocoon getting ready. But if you're not on that, you may still be a caterpillar crawling around. You still may be a caterpillar crawling around. Okay? And shout out to everybody in this motherfucker too, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. So these is the thing. Get out the Jesus Christ matrix. And you gotta want that. I'm telling you, you're not gonna become a butterfly. You're gonna be a caterpillar. And you ain't gonna understand the language of the butterflies. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna understand the language of the butterfly. You still gonna be with the caterpillars. You know what I'm saying? All y'all together and shit like that. Caterpillar world and stuff. You know what I'm saying? All y'all together just living in caterpillar world and stuff like that. And think it's funny, like, look at these, you know what I'm saying? Look at these butterflies and stuff like that. What is that? It reminds you of something you supposed to do. All right. So, yeah, so that's, I'll try to load this real quick. Give me a second. Yeah, so, this crossing. So this is, the Jesus Christ Matrix is a funded, intellectual property. You know what I'm saying? Funded by Britain and them and stuff like that and all over there and stuff. They brought that shit over here and shit. And then they took the native astrology wheel and shit like that, replaced them with with 12 disciples and shit like that. And then they put in a point in the middle, they put an Arab there and told y'all to follow them. And that was their first slaves and shit. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of y'all that's following Jesus and stuff, y'all following an Arab. That's an Arab man. That's an Arab man. So yeah, you're gonna be lost. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be lost. You ain't following the natural order. You don't even understand what it is. So you're gonna be lost. You're going to be lost. What the? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Why the internet want to act funny today? Goddamn, can I read my post in this bitch? Can I add a picture to this or some shit like that? No, I can't do that. Wait. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Come on, come through, God. Oh shit, we can. Oh shit, that's new. How can I do that right now though? Like I want to add a new one though. I can add a green screen. That shit fire. Oh shit, it's busting. I'm finna be on this bitch with all my pictures now and shit like that. We gonna make sure we got presentations, everything. You know. But yeah, y'all just understand the crossing really pretty much. And the Jesus Christ Matrix. Oh, there we go. All right, so the Jesus Christ Matrix is any form of entertainment that acts as a savior to your dopamine and doesn't help you stay on your cycle of discipline and shit. So that cycle is the motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, the natural order of things. You know what I'm saying? If you 18, you supposed to be doing shit that 18-year-olds do and shit like that. That way you be up to scale with your motherfucking age group and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be doing shit within your generation, or you can become a less undeveloped spirit type shit. That now this is the Jesus Price program. When you 18 now and stuff like that, and like I said, some of this shit was taken from the Native spiritual. Go listen to a Native American talk about how they was conducting order in government. You're gonna find the same things that they were doing are some of the things that how American cultures ran today. So even, you know what I'm saying, being more fair with men and women and shit like that, and them rights and shit like that. And all of that shit come from America. You know what I'm saying? So that's native shit. So when we get to the Jesus Christ Matrix and shit like that, this is them coming in, but them infiltrating and adding their matrix to it, their mind and shit like that. And so, you can't use your spiritual system. You gotta get replaced. It gotta get replaced with this God. So worship this God. And they give y'all that in a lot of ways, not just through the religion portion and stuff like that. Any form of entertainment that acts as a savior to your dopamine and doesn't help you stay on cycle or your discipline is this program. So anything that's distracted, because what the space that you're in as a spirit, you already defeated. You already saying, okay, something outside of me is going to save myself, right? And stuff like that. I'll be straight. You know what I'm saying? I'll be good. But um, it's not helping you stay on track and things. And for the most part, they found ways for you to justify to get away with it. That's the other part. They found ways for you to justify to get away with it and things. But you may think you're getting away with it, but for the most part, it ain't keeping you on your natural cycle and stuff like that. And so anything that's promoted, you know what I'm saying, by, white man. And when we talk about white man, I'm not just saying white people. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying the white man thinking that created this thought. So, and within that, it's, they got Arabs, they got Africans, they got everybody in that shit. So don't get it fucked up. But when we talking about the white man and things, this is a form of them entertaining you and things. So that's what they did to black people and shit like that. Y'all, they made a form of entertainment for y'all and things that kind of go against y'all nature and shit like that. So you become more separate. You ain't crossed up. You know what I'm saying? You ain't crossed up. And they do that to a lot of people too and shit like that. They do that to a lot of y'all ethnicities as well. But this is just one of the ones that they do it to the most. So the Jesus Christ matrix, so the whole Jesus Christ thing in general, like I'm talking about everything. You know what I'm saying, this is how you get out the matrix and shit like that. Wake up, Neo and shit. This Jesus Christ matrix is any form of entertainment that acts as a savior to your dopamine and doesn't help you stay on your cycle and discipline and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't know Reese's was a motherfucking Jesus Price program. You feel me? You ain't know Wheel of Fortune was a Jesus Price program. Any form of entertainment, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't help you stay on your cycle. Now, being entertained and shit like that, and getting on your 1-2, far as you being on your 1-2 and shit like that, and being good in the public eye. This not just about being good in the public eye. You know what I'm saying? Because it's public crucifixion in your internal realm, and it's public crucifixion externally, type shit. Now, you may think it's not public crucifixion externally, internally and shit like that. If you do shit, right, and then the public, you can kind of get away with the public and things like that, but you always gonna feel that internal thing, like I did something wrong or I need to be doing this and shit like that. And that's you in the spiritual world dealing with that before it manifests externally. And then you're gonna meet a person, place, or thing that match that energy, that shows you like, damn, this is why I need to be doing that type shit. You get what I'm saying? So it's public crucifixion that manifests unaware or aware to a less developed mind amongst your natural network, which is the allegory to public crucifixion. Okay, so your natural network back in the day could have been the native astrology. I mean the native ways. You know what I'm saying? The native spirit ways. Then you got white man coming over here, right? And white man wants you to follow their ways and shit like that. So now, entertain this. Now, think about entertaining that thing, getting rid of your ways, entertaining that thing, right? And then them finding ways to make that thing enjoyable, all right? Boom. So you might not think you're getting public crucifixion because you in the world, you know what I'm saying? You're getting your 1-2 together. You got more money than that other person or something like that, right? But you still going through a public crucifixion internally and shit like that because of it's because motherfucker I had a point. So let me go back. So like I said, you may be a Native American, right? And they get rid of your ways and they find a way to make you worship their ways. Not only that, they're gonna have certain things that's convenient and shit, make it a convenience, make it seem like it's more natural to do this or something like that. Make it seem like it's more regular to do this. You know what I'm saying? So you could be in a regular world to do this. Now, what's going to happen from that point on is when you forget your ways, it ain't a public crucifixion amongst those people that's lost in that space with you. It's a public crucifixion within yourself because you know in your natural network of things, that's not how things should operate spiritually on a spiritual level. So it don't got nothing to do with other people. So you go to your internal hell, which is this. You know what I'm saying? You go more separate, more south. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they about. And shit like that. They don't want you having no power, bitch. They don't want you knowing yourself and shit like that. No, they want you in the Jesus Christ matrix and shit like that. Well, shit, we gonna motherfucking eat all these snacks and to dope, eat on these snacks to Christ come back. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that. Really nothing more or less. That is the motherfucking Jesus Christ program. You know what I'm saying? So the Jesus Christ matrix, you know what I'm saying, is any form of entertainment that acts as a savior to your dopamine and doesn't help you stay on your natural cycle of discipline. So your disciplines is knowing all the sides of yourself and when you too down and shit like that, you need to practice more being more up. You know what I'm saying? If you too left field, okay, you need to practice more doing more right and shit like that. That way you have a natural cross. If you too righteous and shit like that, okay, you know you about to get lost and shit like that. So you need to be a little bit more left field and things, you know what I'm saying? Because you could be righteous into the wrong shit. And so this is their practice, even the rightness and, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm telling you. So they whole bitch shit is to get y'all lost to hell and stuff like that. So you know your old cycles and shit. You know what I'm saying? You could be more sufficient with it, you know, the matrix. Yeah. What? Okay. Okay, we get that. We clocking that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to let y'all know and stuff like that because, you know, shout out to Flight Boss. Y'all know Flight Boss always bringing the fucking knowledge too and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, we all trying to become butterflies and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't really about getting to that space externally and shit. You know, it's about getting there internally first, you know, and then, you know, doing your thing. You get there internally first. That way you got a certain conviction that is operating beyond the physical and stuff like that. And that conviction could, you know, be something that guides you into, you know, you did more than internal work before you presented yourself a certain way, you know what I'm saying? And try to be this thing. You get what I'm saying? So you're doing more than internal work. So yeah, that's about fucking Jesus Christ matrix and shit like that. So you can see what your grandma lost there. You can see what your auntie lost there. You can see what your cousin them lost there. Everybody. And they ain't even gotta have a Bible and stuff like that. The culture, the world, the current system is built off that shit. So now you know if they don't want to change and shit like that. Oh, where they at? At the bottom of this motherfucking cross. Feet at the bottom. You can't become a star, so you can't become of the 5 finger being. You can't have no point in the middle and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to have a point in the middle. You know what I'm saying? So you can't have no point in the middle. Also, why black people never? Because they in witchcraft. Why we never wake up? We in witchcraft. Why Jesus never come back? That's as you said the same thing. You said the same thing. Why black people can ever come together and shit like that? They in witchcraft. You know what I'm saying? It don't start with that. It don't start with the external. It don't. You know what I'm saying? You got to get somewhere internally first, type shit. Real shit. And this is real spill. You know what I'm saying? So, for the most part, you know, it's about being your own savior. And when astrology is a tool that can help you understand direction, right? And then you can do these things from a more macro space for yourself and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So fire separating, water fusing, air, um, adding more pressure and shit like that, or transmutation. And then you got earth, which is grounding and structuring. So you supposed to know how to be, depressed when it's time to be depressed, be up when it's time to be up. You know what I'm saying? Okay. People may too be excited. People may be too excited about some stupid shit, right? That's when you got to use earth and shit like that and make it more simple. Like, all right, this don't make sense, and that's where you'll be a little bit more, a little bit more depressing character. And now you're not just playing that just to feel good and shit like that, or just feel a certain way, or get you playing it for God type shit. You know, so these are the things, um, knowing you should know. Even let's say, yeah, I use more air and earth with that one. If people too excited, then if people too down or depressed and shit like that, or you too more in a down depressed energy, okay, you got to use, you know, uh, get out of your logic or get out of your stuckness. You know what I'm saying? So this is more fire and water. So separation, you know what I'm saying, or being able to be flexible, water and stuff. So these is mind states we dealing with before we get to, this manifests after the fact. You know what I'm saying? This manifests after the fact, and the more you can be in the spirit and have good aim, aka foresight, and see how to direct, that shit, then you will be Gucci. You will be Gucci. You will be Gucci. Yeah. Where it said, and you can get out of shit like, yeah, like the spirit code, where you get out like, yeah. You know? Hold on, let me check when this motherfucking shit coming real quick. Sir. So yeah. But other than that, that is the motherfucking Jesus Christ matrix. So, everybody in hell. Everybody in hell. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta stay on your natural cycle, and other part and shit like that. And also, your natural cycle is really only dealing with your purpose and being sufficient in some ways amongst whatever you associated with. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't about being the best in the room, but it is about being a participant. You know what I'm saying? And on point with your participation. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be left behind. He said, put my ass in the gym as soon as I woke up. Shout out to Zay. And shit. My bad, y'all. I'll be reading the chat. I'll be trying to be out of that shit and shit like that. I'll be, because it's more about the message and shit like that. But all of y'all motherfucking comments and shit like that, that shit do help and shit like that, because they be throwing bots and shit in here, and people try to get people distracted, trying to distract me and shit like that. So I be out here just motherfucking bear with me and shit that far as y'all comments and shit like that. But you know what I'm saying? All of us adding to this energy wheel does work. So you know what I'm saying? Get out the Jesus Christ matrix. Now, you gotta have a purpose, and that purpose, you gotta be able to string that together, because you're dealing with the Jesus Christ program all the time. So you know what I'm saying? This is when it comes into, you making up your mind, aka you having your own thought and feeling, right? And shit like that. And so you can utilize words, you can utilize symbolism, you can utilize this, anything. And right, say like, I want to be a tree, right? I want to be a tree and shit like that. So I want to be stable or something like that. Okay, what you do is say, what we got? We got the actual tree in the world, right? We got that energy. So that will be the emotional or the feminine aspect of it. Then we got the actual tree and shit like that. That is the word and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that word tree is gonna bring us to that space, right? That's the thought of it. And then once you say tree, okay, now you remember, it goes to memory, the feeling. Okay, so you can feel what that feel like and shit like that. So that's your thought and your feeling. So you can have any word that represents this, and it's way look a little bit more ways to kind of piece it together. You gotta, if you know like language and what these things correlate. If you got a correlation system, but you can follow your own word and things of that nature, because y'all get ideas and things that really don't be having nothing to do with the Jesus Christ matrix, but y'all ignore it just based upon it not being something that makes sense of the Jesus Christ matrix. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be out a little bit, of that at first. But yeah, so just like you got that boom, you got that tree, right? You say tree, you're going to have the word that's going to represent the space of it, right? And then you're going to have the feeling around it. Okay, what does a tree feel like? It's fruitful. It's stable, right? Then boom, now you're in the feeling of it. Boom. Now what does that do? Create that energy, that thought and feeling come together to create a light, a child in your body. Boom. Now you play that out. So you play that out towards the things that, or you keep a symbol or whatever, but you play that out through the things in your motherfucking life, you know what I'm saying? Or the things that, well, you carry that energy, you an experience of it. Now add to that. You know what I'm saying? Now add to that, right? So that means use your mind to become creative. You know what I'm saying, with it. And then boom, okay, now you're a motherfucking tree. So now you can bring some stability to other motherfucking people and guess that shit play out in your motherfucking life. You know what I'm saying? So people come get pluck off of you and shit like that, eat your fruit and shit like that, and you'll become more of a source where it helps them. Type shit. So this is just, that on a minor scale. And just a little bit of getting out of the Jesus Christ matrix. But for the most part, we always thinking and feeling every day. It's not 1 second of the day we have thoughts and feelings. So don't think like it ain't something to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And stuff. So if you want to develop, blood, into certain areas, that's just a little preview of how, Native Americans do it and shit. And stuff. So get out of the washy who. It's more so dealing with your internal energy too, because it ain't about saying, oh, how many millionaires is my age? No, I'm not talking about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you feeling good, you feeling sufficient, you feeling connected. You know what I'm saying? You feeling like you on the track, you on the right thing, you on that right path and shit. So yeah, let's go get your ass a game. Let's go get your ass in the game. You know what I'm saying? Let's go get your ass in the game. Let's go get your ass in the game. Or else stay in hell, go watch a movie or something. Real shit. Real shit. You gotta deal with yourself. You gotta deal with your internal nature. That's that. Real shit. Just lazy minded. It'll be lazy minded. That shit like that. And I ain't talking about anybody in here. We just talking about the spirit, the space of that. You don't be in no lazy mind as a spirit. And shit like that. So you don't want to be lazy minded as a spirit. And then, we all need each other, because somebody could show you where you may have been lazy minded in areas where you might not know, because we all working together and we all got our own certain energies that can help each other, type shit. All right, so you want to experience your mind, shit like that. You want your own cross like that, or you want to cross like this, or you want to cross like this. You know what I'm saying? Where that one, like you, okay. You know what I'm saying? You ain't dragged in hell and stuff, like about it and shit like that. It was something you studied and shit like that, and came back up and did a 360 around it. Yeah, type shit. That type shit. You want that one. Yeah. Shirts coming soon. Shirts coming soon. Shirts coming soon. Shirts coming soon. I'm saying you don't want that other cross. You don't want that other cross, especially if you anything dealing with American or Native American or fuck with the natives and shit like that. You don't want that other cross. Trust me. Trust me. But yeah, so you gotta get out the Jesus Christ matrix and things, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta know your directions, you know what I'm saying? Spring, the ability to start, you know what I'm saying? North, the ability to uphold. Fall, the ability to let things go. And death, when you too rooted in something that's stable and shit like that, and it ain't helping you be a little bit more free. You know what I'm saying? That means you may be too closer and dense into the natures of the physical. All right? So remember that. I'm Calcito, the spirit coach. You know what I'm saying? You're now drinking the wine of Zeus. Get your ass in the game. Yeah.